So thank you for joining the class. This class is focused on the ASVAB exams, and today we are looking at 2D shapes. 2D shapes. So today we'll be focusing on 2D shapes. At the end of today's class, we are going to look at some ASVAB practice questions on 2D shapes. So let's start. First, what is a 2D shape? We need to know what a 2D shape is. For us to solve questions on 2D shapes in the ASVAB exams, we first need to know what 2D shapes are. We need to know the different types of 2D shapes that are considered in the ASVAB exams. And then we also need to know about the area and the perimeter of 2D shapes. So a 2D shape is a plane shape. A 2D shape is a flat shape, okay? A 2D shape is a flat shape. What do I mean by flat shape? A flat shape cannot be moved from one point to another. So if I draw a shape like this is a 2D shape. How do I know? I cannot handle this shape. I cannot hold it. It is flat, right? I cannot push it along this line. I cannot push it up because it is flat. So a 2D shape is a flat shape that cannot be moved from one point to the other, okay? So there are different types of 2D shapes that we'll be considering in today's lesson. We'll be considering rectangle, square, triangle, and circle. So we'll look at these 4 2D shapes because they are some of the 2D shapes that are always considered in the ASVAB exams. So what are we going to be learning about these shapes? The first thing we are going to be learning is the area of 2D shapes. What is the area of a 2D shape? The area of a 2D shape is the empty space inside the 2D shape. So the area of a 2D shape is the empty space inside the 2D shape. Also, we're going to be learning about perimeter. The perimeter of a 2D shape is the sum of the lines surrounding the 2D shape. So the area of a 2D shape is the empty space inside the 2D shape. The perimeter of the 2D shape is the sum of the lines surrounding the 2D shape. Okay, so whenever you are told to calculate the area of a 2D shape, you are simply asked to calculate the empty space, this space inside here. But when you are told to calculate the perimeter of a 2D shape, you are told to calculate the sum of the lines surrounding the 2D shape. So whenever you are solving a question in the ASVAB exams, you need to ask yourself, especially in the arithmetic reasoning, because you might not be told to calculate the perimeter or calculate the area. You are expected to know which of these parameters you're calculating, right? So if you are told, for example, if let's consider a room. Let's say the room you are in right now. So if you're in a room right now, the walls around your room is the perimeter of the room. But the entire floor of the room you are in right now is the area of the room, right? So the wall surrounding your room is the perimeter. The floor, the space inside your room, is the area of the room. So whenever you're solving word problems that lead to 2D shapes calculations, you should ask yourself, am I expected to calculate the area in this situation, or am I expected to calculate the perimeter? Good. So we are going to be considering the area and the perimeter of these 4 2D shapes that I mentioned earlier. The area and perimeter of a rectangle, the area and perimeter of a square, the area and perimeter of a triangle, the area and perimeter of, in the case of a circle, it is called circumference. So the area and the circumference of a circle. So let's go ahead to do that. So let's see how to calculate the area and the perimeter of a rectangle. A rectangle is a 2D shape that has 4 sides. Okay. So if you have this shape, this is a rectangle. It has 4 sides. But if you observe closely, you see that two sides, two opposite sides, are longer than these two opposite sides, right? So the two opposite sides that are longer are called length. So this is length. That means this is also length. The shorter sides are called width. Okay, so the longer sides are called length. The shorter sides are called width. How do we calculate the area of a rectangle? The formula for area of the rectangle is equal to length multiplied by width. So once you multiply the length of the rectangle and the width of the rectangle, you get the area of the rectangle. How do we know that that is correct? Let's see a situation where you have some students. So these are the heads of the students in a particular class. If you are asked to count the number of students in the class, you have two ways of counting. You can decide to count each student 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So in this process, you are counting each student. But someone else can decide to count the number of students at the front, 5, count the number of students at the side, 3, and multiply them together. Once you multiply 5 and 3, you get the entire students in this space. So this formula looks the same way. If you want to know the entire space in the rectangle, remember the area is the space inside the rectangle. So if you want to know the entire space in the rectangle, all you need to do is multiply the length of the rectangle and the width of the rectangle. You get the entire space in the rectangle. So that's how this formula is gotten. Okay? So to calculate the area of a rectangle, this is the formula we are going to use. For the perimeter, perimeter is equal to, remember I said earlier that the perimeter of a rectangle, the perimeter of a 2D shape is simply the sum of all the sides of the 2D shape. So if we want to find the perimeter of this rectangle, all we need to do is add the 4 sides together. So it's going to be length plus length plus length plus width plus width. So the area, the perimeter of a rectangle is length plus width plus width, because we are adding all the sides of the rectangle. Okay, so the formula is length plus width plus width. So now we are going to look at some ASVAB practice questions so that we can understand this formula better. We're going to look at some questions on area or perimeter of a rectangle from the ASVAB practice questions. So the question says the area of a rectangle shown here is 250 centimeters square. So the area of the rectangle is 250 centimeters square. Find the width. So we don't know this side. This is the width of the rectangle. The width is the shorter side of the rectangle. Okay. First, we need to remember the formula for area of a rectangle. The formula is area is equal to length multiplied by width. So we're expected to find the width. We know the area to be 250. We know the length to be 50. So we just substitute 250 is equal to 50. 50 times W is the same thing as 50W, right? So the next thing we need to do is divide both sides by 50. So on the right, 50 is going to cancel out 50. We have W. 250 divided by 50 is going to give us 5 centimeters. Okay, so this means the right option is option A. Some persons have already gotten the answer. Good. So we are starting with a very simple question, right? Let's see if we have another one that focuses on a rectangle. So we're given this question. We are told that a rectangle is 3 times as long as it is wide. the perimeter of the rectangle is 147 inches. What is the length of the rectangle? First, we know that the shape we are working on is a rectangle. Second, we know that our focus is on the perimeter of the rectangle, not the area, right? So what is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle? We already know that the perimeter of a rectangle is length plus width plus width. Remember, the perimeter is the sum of all the sides of the rectangle. Now let's draw the rectangle. From the story, from the question, we are told that a rectangle is 3 times as long as it is wide. So we don't know the length, we don't know the width, but we know that whatever the width is, the length will be 3 times that value. Okay, so if the width is W, the length will be 3W. The rectangle is 3 times as long as it is wide. So this is a word problem that you need to convert to the picture so I can understand it clearly. The rectangle is 3 times as long as it is wide. So whatever the width is, the length is 3 times of that. Okay, and we are told that the perimeter is 147. So if you add the 4 sides of this rectangle, you're supposed to get 147. So the perimeter is equal to, here is 3W. Sorry, give me a minute. We already know the perimeter. We know that the perimeter is 147. So 147 is equal to 3W plus, over here is also 3W. Here is W. And then here is W. So 47 is equal to 3W plus 3W plus W plus W, because you're adding the 4 sides together. This side is W, this side is 3W, this side is 3W, this side is W, this side is W. So adding the 4 sides together, we have 147. 3W plus 3W will give us 6W, 7W, 8W. So 147 is equal to 8W. So to find the value of W, we need to divide both sides by 8. Cancel out. We have W is equal to, now we can easily use our calculator to get the answer. But in the ASVAB exams, you cannot use a calculator. So that means you have to use long division, right? Since you cannot use a calculator, you have to use long division. So let's use long division to divide 147 by 8. (147) divided by 8. First, you're going to do 14 divided by 8, because you cannot do 1 divided by 8. So 14 divided by 8 is going to give us 1. 1 times 8 is going to give us 8. 14 minus 8 is going to give us 6. You bring the 7 down, right? 67 divided by 8. What are you going to get? 67 divided by 8. What will be the value of 67 divided by 8? That will be 8, right? So that will be 8. 8 multiplied by 8 is 64. Okay, so 67 minus 64 is going to give us 3. But we might not need to go further, because whatever we are going to get is going to become a decimal, because now you have 67 minus 64, that will give us 3. If we go further, we're going to have to put a decimal point and add 0 to 3. But this is the most important part of the number 83, right? So sorry, 18. This is the most important part of the number 18. So what we are going to do, since we are assuming that the width is approximately 18, Not the actual, the width is not 18, but approximately 18. Now, W, this length, remember the question says, what is the length of the rectangle? We have gotten the width, so we need to find the length. And the length is 3W. 3W. So the length is going to be 3 times 18 approximately. Okay? So what's 3 times 18? What's 3 times 18? Who's going to give us the answer? 3 times 18. Where's the 8 coming from? 3W plus 3W plus W plus W will give us 8W. That's where it came from. Okay, 54, correct. So our length is approximately 54. But remember, there was a decimal value that we ignored earlier. We ignored a decimal value. So that has made our answer smaller than what it should be. But we can quickly look at the options and pick the one that is closest to 54, which is B, 55.1. So in the ASVAB exams, you are working with time, so you might not want to keep dividing and go to decimals. So once you've gotten the whole number, you multiply that whole number by 3 and then check for the value that looks closer to 54. So if you use your calculator to do 147 divided by 8, you're going to get 8 points, 18 point something, and 18 point something times 3 is going to give you this number. We're going to look at the area and perimeter of a square. So we have considered the area and perimeter of a rectangle, and we have solved some questions on that. Now let's look at area and perimeter of a square. So now we are looking at square. So just like the rectangle, the square is a 2D shape that has 4 sides. But unlike the rectangle, all the sides of the square are equal. Unlike the rectangle, all the sides of the square are equal. So the sides of the square are equal. So if here is length, here is also length. Okay, because all the sides of the rectangle, all the sides of the square are equal. So what would be the formula for the area of a square? The formula for the area is length multiplied by length. So for questions on 2D shapes, you must memorize the formulas. You have to memorize the formulas because you will not be given. So you need to know the formula of these 2D shapes. The area of a 2D shape is, the area of a square is length multiplied by length. And then the perimeter is equal to, remember the perimeter is the sum of all the sides. So the perimeter is length plus length plus length plus length. Or you can simply say the perimeter is equal to 4 times the length. So whatever the length is, whatever the length of a square is, you multiply it by 4, you get the perimeter of the square. Okay, so I don't have any question from the ASVAB practice test on square, but I'm just going to solve an example, and then we go to the area and perimeter of a triangle. Let's look at an example. So this my YouTube channel, so you can always check it out. So here we're expected to calculate the area and the perimeter of a square. The square has a length of 12 feet. So using the formula we already have, the area of a square is equal to length multiplied by length, where the length is equal to 12 feet. So here we have 12 multiplied by 12. So 12 multiplied by 12 is going to give us 144 feet. So square feet, sorry. So the length, the area of the square is 144 square feet. 144 square feet. And then the perimeter of this square is length plus length plus length plus length, which is, or you can simply say 4 times length. So we have 4 times 12. 4 times 12 is going to give us 48. 48 feet. So whenever you're solving questions like this, you should ask yourself, am I asked to solve for area, or am I asked to solve for perimeter? Very important. I think there's one question I came across, though it's not for square, but I think we should just look at it. So let's look at the question together. So this is an ASVAB practice test question. So here we are told to find the area of the shape. Remember, the area of the shape is the entire space inside the shape. So can we say this is a rectangle or a square? Is this a rectangle? Is it a square? What do you think? So this is a combination of two 2D shapes. So there are two ways of finding the area of the shape. First, you can find the area of the shape by breaking down the shape into two. Okay, so you find the area of this side, you find the area of this side, and then you add them together. That's one way of getting it done. You find the area of this side, let's call this side shape A. You find the area of this side, we call it shape B, and then we add them together. Okay, so let's see what that will be. If you look at this shape A here, let's draw it. This is 1 inch by 1 inch. So that's what this shape looks like. It's a square. Both sides are 1 inch. This side is 1, this side is 1, right? So what we are going to do is calculate the area of this side. The area of a square is equal to length times length, which is 1 times 1. That gives us 1 square inch, right? That's the area of this portion. Now let's focus on this side. If you look at this area B, remember 1 inch is out. So what will be left here is 7 inches, because 1 is out. This entire length is 8. But since we have taken out 1 to form this area here, that means the length from here to here is no longer 8, but 7. So the area here of this rectangle B area is equal to length multiplied by width, because this side is longer than this side, so that's a rectangle. So the length of this shape B is 10, and the width is 7. So 10 times 7 is going to give us 70 square inch. Okay. So to get the total area, we're going to add these two together, 70 plus 1. So 70 plus 1 is going to give us 71. So this means our answer is option B, 71. Okay. 71 is the correct answer. So that's the first method of solving it. We can look at the second method, but I think this method is okay. Okay. This method is okay. So now let's look at the area of a triangle. Area of a triangle. I'm trying to be as fast as possible because I have something else to do. I have a one-on-one tutoring. I have a group class, ASVAB group class in the next 27 minutes. So let's look at. So let's consider a triangle. So a triangle is a 2D shape that has 3 sides. A triangle has 3 sides. There are different types of triangles, but for this particular lesson, we are focusing on a right angle triangle. So for this right angle triangle, the vertical side is the height, and the horizontal side is the base. Okay. So if you are told to calculate the area of a triangle, This is equal to base multiplied by height divided by 2. The base multiplied by the height divided by 2. And then the perimeter of a triangle is simply the sum of the three sides. Okay. So if you are told to calculate the perimeter of a triangle, all you need to do is check the three sides and then add them together. That gives you the perimeter of the triangle. So we're going to solve one question on perimeter of a triangle. Solving the area of a triangle is relatively easy. You're given the height, you're given the base, you multiply them and divide by 2. But for this lesson, let's focus on perimeter of a triangle. Let's look at that. So here, we're asked, we are told that a triangle with a perimeter of 60 inch has one side that is twice as long as the shortest side, and a third side that is 8 inches longer than the shortest side. What is the length of the shortest side? So we can see a common denominator in this question. That common value is the shortest side, right? So let's draw the triangle. We don't know the shape, but I just want to draw the shape. Let's call this the shortest side. We don't know what the shortest side is, so let's call it x. Okay. So this is the shortest side. We are told that one of the sides is twice as long as the shortest side. So if one of the sides is twice as long as the shortest side, then that would be 2x. Twice as long means double of that, 2 times of that value. So this side is going to be x plus 8. The shortest side is x. This side is twice as long as the shortest side, and this side is 8 inches longer than the shortest side. But we are told that the perimeter of this triangle is equal to 60. That means if you add these three sides together, you are supposed to get 60. So x plus 2x plus x plus 8 is equal to 60. Remember, the perimeter of a 2D shape is the sum of all the sides of a 2D shape. So x plus 2x plus x is going to give us 4x plus 8 is equal to 60. So subtracting 8 from both sides, 4x plus 8 minus 8 is equal to 60 minus 8. So this is a process that is applied in equations. You can check out my video lesson on equations. Okay. So 8 minus 8 will cancel out. We have 4x is equal to 52. 60 minus 8 is going to give us 52. So to get the value of x, we divide both sides by 4. 4 is going to cancel out 4. X is equal to 52 divided by 4 is going to give us 13 inches. So this means that the value of the shortest side is equal to 13 inches. All right. So that is the answer to the question. Very easy, I guess. So we have not looked at area and circumference of a circle. Let's see how much of that we can do before the time runs out. Circle. So a circle is a 2D shape that has points that are at equal distance from a particular point or the center. So if you have a center, my drawing is not accurate, but I tried my best. So this is a circle, or it's supposed to be a circle. So the empty space inside this circle is called the area of the circle, but the line surrounding the circle is called the circumference. So the circumference for other 2D shapes is called perimeter, but for the circle, it is called circumference, right? When you draw a line from the circumference passing through the center to the other side of the circumference, it is called the diameter. But the line drawn from the center to the circumference is called the radius. Okay? So the radius is half of the diameter. So the radius is diameter divided by 2. Sometimes in a particular question, maybe you are told to calculate the area of a circle, but instead of being given the radius of the circle, which is found in the formula, you might be given the diameter instead. So if you're given the diameter, all you need to do is divide the diameter by 2. That will give you the value of the radius. Okay? So the radius is equal to diameter over 2. The formula for area of a circle is equal to pi radius squared. The area of a circle is equal to pi radius squared. But the circumference, remember the circumference is the sum of the lines surrounding the circle. The circumference is equal to 2 pi radius. Right? So, but what is pi? Pi is a constant. Pi is equal to 3.14 or 22 over 7. So you can use 3.14, you can use 22 over 7. But most times it's better to use 3.14 because you're going to do some multiplication. So it's better to multiply the decimal and any other value you are multiplying. So this value will not be given in the ASVAB exams. You will not be told the numerical value of pi. So it is expected of you to remember that pi is equal to 3.14 or pi is equal to 22 over 7. You have to remember that. Okay. So now let's solve one question and we will be done with today's class. One question from the ASVAB practice test. So this question is an ASVAB practice question. Let's look at it together. We are told that Timothy runs every morning once around a circular track in a park close to his house. If the radius of the circular track is 50 yards, how far does Timothy run every morning? So we are told that the track is a circular track. So let's draw a circle. Now I want to ask, when running around a circular track, do you run, remember a circle or every 2D shape is divided into the area and the perimeter, but in the case of a circle is the circumference. So do you run around the area, do you run here or do you run here? So first you need to know, am I solving a question on area or am I solving a question on circumference? So when you're running, you run along the circumference, not in the area, right? So you run along the circumference. So that means you're not going to be using the formula for area, you'll be using the formula for circumference. So circumference is equal to 2 pi radius. We are told that the radius is 50. So 2 multiplied by, what is the value of pi? You are expected to remember the value of pi. The value of pi is 3.14. So 3.14 times 50, because the radius is 50. So to make our work easy, 2 times 50 is going to give us 100. So you have 3.14 multiplied by 100. Okay. So when you are multiplying any number by 100, all you need to do is move the decimal point 2 times. You don't need to bother about calculating. You just move the decimal point to the right, 1, 2. So our answer is going to be 314 yards. That gives us the answer to that question. So the correct answer, as some persons have already told us in the comments, is option C. Very easy. So in today's class, we've gone through 2D shapes. We've looked at the area and the perimeter, also circumference of 2D shapes. We've solved some ASVAB practice questions on these shapes. So if you did not join from the beginning of the lesson, you can just watch the replay of this lesson on my YouTube channel. You can also join my group class. Every month I have group classes for those that are preparing for the ASVAB exams. Most persons just wake up in the morning and they want to sit for the ASVAB exams the next day or the next week. That's not the best way to prepare. So in my group class, we work for a full month to make sure that we are well prepared. So if you want to join for the month of November, you can send me a DM here on TikTok. Also, I have one-to-one tutoring. You can also DM me for that. But be that as it may, if you just want to go through my lessons, they are free on YouTube. You can just watch them on YouTube. Um, I'm not really. I try to do my live classes in between my group classes or my one-on-one tutoring. So like today, I have a group class in the next 8 minutes. So I just come in between classes when I'm free. So, but any live class I have, you can always find the replay on my YouTube channel. So, example, this live class I just did today. If you go to my YouTube channel tomorrow, you're going to see the replay of it. I'm just going to post it. Though I'll remove some parts that are not necessary. So to make it shorter, right? That's where I do it. So you can always check my YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is Agbani ASVAB Academy. So the only difference, let me just write it down in case you want to subscribe right away. So I post videos on ASVAB and also GED. So you can just check it out and subscribe. Okay. So thank you everyone for being there from the beginning, from the middle up to this point. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. See you in the next live class or see you on my YouTube channel. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.